welcome to the June 3rd meeting of the Tupelo Planning Committee. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones if you haven't already. At this time, please rise for the invocation given by Patty Thompson and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mark Williams.
Would you bow with me, please? Father God, thank you so much for this opportunity to come together tonight. We ask that you guide our hearts and our hands and have us patiently listen to those who have come tonight to speak with us. We thank you for your infinite grace and wisdom. Amen.
Amen. Praise the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You can be seated. The Tupelo Planning Committee is a volunteer group appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We receive no compensation for this as we do it as a community service. We spend a lot of time in our own funds studying and researching the applications and visiting the sites that are on our agenda each month. We ask that you remember that we don't take our positions on any application lightly. Our decisions are based on facts as they are presented and with regard to the regulations set forth in the Development Code. At this time, I would like to ask the staff and committee members to introduce themselves, starting with the staff.
Tanner Newman, Director of Development Services.
Jenny Sabley, City Planner.
Lindsay Leak. Mark Williams.
Bentley Nolan.
Patty Thompson.
Pam Hadley.
Aaron Washington.
Leslie Mart.
Scott Davis.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Aaron. First meeting here. We're glad to have you. We were going to move on to reviewing and approval of the May 6th, 2024 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
I move we approve.
I second.
All right, any discussion there? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous, thank you. All right, we will move on to our regular session here. Ms. Sabley, do you have a report on council actions?
There's no council actions to report, but I will take a moment just as a point of information while I have the mic. That June 11th, we are having our public rollout of the comprehensive plan at the Cadence Bank Conference Center at 6 o'clock, and I just encourage everyone to attend and be part of the city's 15-year growth plan as we work toward that document.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the plug. All right, any old business?
That's your report.
And we will move on to new business. All new applications being reviewed by Planning Committee will adhere to the following order of operations for review in this session. We'll have the presentation of the staff analysis. Then we will move on to the presentation of the proposed activity by the applicant. Then we'll open the floor for public comment. We'll allow speakers to have 5 minutes to speak, and then we'll have an alarm that will sound to indicate that your time has expired. When you do stand up to speak, come to the podium, please provide your name, residential address, and contact phone number on the sheet at the podium if it's up there. At least provide your name and address to us before you speak to us. And then we'll close the floor for public comment, discuss it as a planning committee, and then we'll vote. Tonight we have just one item on the agenda, I believe, which is major subdivision 24-02 and flexible variance 24-04. Ms. Sabley, do you want to go ahead with the staff analysis on that?
Sure, yeah, happy to. This is for a parcel located at 1731 North Feimster Lake Road. It is 1.33 acres, and it's being proposed for a subdivision of 5 lots, all of which, except for one, meet our standard for the size of a residential lot in low-density residential zoning, which is 1/3 of an acre. The one lot that is slightly less than that, instead of being 0.33 acres, is 0.311 acres. That's a 7% variance, which doesn't require approval by the committee. That can be made within the department. However, the shape of this lot is irregular relative to the developer's hope to put 5 lots. And he will be developing a ingress-egress street access along the west or south side of that lot, however you orient yourself. and that will provide frontage for each of the lots onto that street. The end of that acts a little bit like a cul-de-sac, and often in subdivisions, we have more narrow frontage at a cul-de-sac as a lot gets wider, and those are the lots that you're looking at today relative to the flexible variance. The two lots on the end, typically in this zone, we would require 90 feet on the frontage. A lot of the lots in low-density residential zoning enter right onto a main road. This being on a side street, we're entertaining that variance onto the cul-de-sac at the end might be more appropriate to allow for one 36-foot frontage lot and one 52-foot frontage lot. And again, those lots are appropriate for the size in the zoning district, but that frontage is just narrow and the lots widen out as they go to the back of those lots. We're also reviewing the site plan for this application as part of a major subdivision since infrastructure will be developed. That street is intended for dedication to the city for maintenance. It will be built to city standards with curb and gutter and stormwater drainage inlets. Also, the developer will have to work on getting access for water from across Feenstra Lake to provide utilities. Those will be dedicated to the city for maintenance after the work is done. And there is sewer line already run on the property, so there's access available there. But relative to that, this application with approval of the subdivision and site plan and those flexible variants on the frontage of the lots will then go to city council for approval of the subdivision. So the planning division recommends approval of these. We do not have concerns with any negative impact. We'll catch a lot of what a major subdivision will require relative to the mailboxes and looking at that infrastructure as it goes through subdivision construction, which will have to be approved by the plan review team.
All right, thank you, Ms. Savely. Is the applicant here tonight? Yes. All right, do you mind coming to the podium and introducing yourself and kind of giving us a rundown on your project here, please?
Hey, my name's Patrick Verner. I live at 174 Road 1046 in Tupelo off Bissell Road. Is that all the information I need to give? That's it. Okay. So, just what she was saying, we've me and another person, we're wanting to build some homes out that way. And out that way, it's really beautiful out there. The lot was really big, and so that's when we thought we could break it into a little smaller and still fit within what the specifications are and still make it look really nice in the neighborhood. And these are not going to be rentals or anything like that. We're going to sell them. So that's basically what the plan is.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Verner. Take questions?
Yep, you can ask questions.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for the
Questions?
applicant right now? Or?
So we had had a question about the requirement for the cluster mailboxes. So we don't have the drawings up, but there's that kind of little jut out on lot 1. Have you designated that area for the cluster mailboxes?
I'm flexible as that needs to be.
Okay.
I'm willing to work with however, we need to do it to make it appropriate to what you guys would like to do.
Okay, so typically with that, when you have a large subdivision, there's a homeowners association and whatnot. And since we don't have that in this situation, these lots are going to be sold. The city's going to take over the street once it's all finished. So the maintenance of around that mailbox needs to be something that is addressed maybe by, and Jenny, confirm if this is correct, something like an easement, or Jenny, would you explain what that
What
is?
we typically do is ask that that the deed for that lot include an easement for those public mailboxes.
Sure, yeah.
With a maintenance requirement.
Okay.
All right, and since we don't have a big site plan, so the stormwater and how it's going to be addressed, so that's not an open ditch,
Where,
It'll be required to be curb and gutter.
so curb and gutter, so there'll be, everything will, no, we won't end up with a big ditch out there.
yeah, for sure.
And was it your intent to put sidewalks down there, or no?
It was not.
Okay. And I think we talked about potentially that it's not required because of the location, is that, Jenny, would you like to address the sidewalk?
Yeah, so typically in a major subdivision, sidewalks would be required because we have just updated our subdivision ordinance that any infrastructure, any subdivision regardless of size that develops infrastructure would be kind of overseen by the major subdivision process, which puts it through city council and our engineering team. However, there is a sidewalk requirement on those, but we've discussed waiving that requirement, providing a variance for under 5 lots. And so that would be provided by the committee, should you choose to do so.
Okay.
Could you go over your plan setback for how far the house would be from off the front?
I think from off the front of the street, is that what you're saying?
Property line.
The property line? From where the front of the home would be?
Yes.
So I think it's required 50 feet, I believe is what the requirement would be. So I would think we would kind of have them all around that, what 50 feet would be. Because if I was owning a home, I'd rather have a big backyard. And back that way, when you look out, there's just farmland. So I think it'd look really nice that way. So that would be the plan, would be to stick as uniform as I could to the front of the homes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, Mr. Werner.
Right.
Take a seat. All right, we'll now open the public comment portion of the meeting. If anybody wants to come speak for or against the application here, you'll have 5 minutes to speak. And like I said earlier, an alarm will sound when your time is up, and please provide your name and address when you come to the podium. Thank you.
My name's Mark Kaysen. House number's 424 Morganwood. The biggest question would be, for me, would be what price range would these houses be, what size houses these would be. And I'm not in favor of it at all. I don't think there's enough land there, enough room. If one person wanted to build one house there, it'd be fine, or maybe 2, but that's all. There's no more room for that. And that drainage will drain down that hill into that ditch behind that property. And that field already floods anyway, so it's gonna be a water problem anyway, not for the houses, but for everybody else. So that's about all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Kaysen.
Are his questions gonna get answered?
Yeah, that's right. The committee will invite the applicant back to the podium after this if they want to have those questions answered, or they can address the applicant to ask those questions. But we don't answer them immediately, but yes.
My name is Cleora Brown. I live right next door to the property in question, 1679 North Finster Lake Road. I have lived there for 43 years in that one location. I agree with Mark. My opposing is the same as what Mark has already stated. I don't believe that property is big enough for 5 houses, and I am wondering what size houses, what price range is going in over there. We've already got enough traffic over there. Our road that we live on is narrow. It's not wide enough. I don't think the infrastructure out through there is capable of taking care of all of what you're proposing. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
My name is Sandy McNeely Young. I live at 397 Morganwood Road. I've been out there 28 years, and I bought out there because the lots were large and you had privacy. My lot is like 3/4 of an acre. The lots run anywhere from an acre to 2+ acres, and I would like for it to stay that way. So I agree with Clytie and Mark, and I don't think we can faithfully enter into this with the conscience that we should approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Terry Anthony. I live at 1581 North Feimster Lake Road. I've lived out there 42 years and seen a lot of houses being built in that area. When I moved out there, there was hardly any houses. Now there are several. Of course, we have now we got sewer, which that helps because we still have some that do not have sewer. They're still using septic, and it's not real nice on sunny days when it's really hot. But additional people moving in and lot size does mean a lot to us. I've got approximately 2 acres, and it's been nice living out there with the lot sizes that we have. A lot to keep up, but I agree with my neighbors. You know, we don't need this subdivision to come in. Maybe 1 house, maybe 2. I don't believe there's enough room to really sustain 5 houses, even if with all the infrastructure and everything put in. But that's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony.
I'm Robert Kidd. I live at Morganwood Road, 411 Tupelo. Been there since 1990. That's a flood zone out there. I mean, you can go out there when it comes to big rain. It's over my driveway. Water can't get out quick enough. Too many houses out there on that little small acreage, I think. Just like they said, it's a mess out there when it rains real hard. And my lot, I got 2 acres out there. When I moved out there, it wasn't but a jungle. We cleaned it up, a lot of us out there, and made it nice. And I was kind of glad to see the city come in and take us in the city, because our flood, commodes wouldn't flush right because of the water. But too many houses going in on this place out there. 1 to 2 houses would be plenty. And I agree with my neighbors out there. We don't need this. You're going to have some more problems, because if there's some more land out there fixing to come up, want to build houses on them, low end. Y'all probably already know about it. Behind my house, there's about 15 acres down there. They're already looking at the developers come down there and start. Right up above me up on Feimster, they're clearing off a big lot up there. And I believe in some of them places where it's low-income people, you won't want them around you. I got one out there right now. You ought to come out there and take a look in the backyard and front yard. TV laying in the greater ditch. Mattresses laying in the backyard burning. This is all in the city limits. Come out there and take a look at it. You can see it. But we don't need these houses. 2 will be plenty.
Thank you, Mr. Kidd.
My name's Phil Willis. I live at 111 Emy Lane, which is one street over from where you're talking about. We've been there for almost 20 years. I can attest to what they're talking about water because both of my neighbors are up higher than me. So even where I'm at, my back yard all the way down to the flow ditch back there floods anytime it comes. I mean, it becomes a lake. When he was talking about the farmland, I don't know if y'all have this little piece of paper right here. That little old bitty tiny spot right there is what he's calling farmland. I mean, you can, I mean, it's tiny. So there's not a great backdrop. The backdrop's gonna be the highway. The highway's right there. That's all that's right there. There's a huge slope on the east side of that home. One of my good friends, actually my brother-in-law's brother, owned that house for ever. And he had problems with water. Battled it all the time. And all that water runs on the back of Mark's land and the White's land. And it's hard to maintain now. You're talking about curbs. I've been out there 20 years. We've been annexed for what, 8? Nobody's put a curb on my road. My road's almost impassable with 2 vehicles. Somebody's got to get off in my yard or Terry's yard or Mike's yard to just pass one another because the road is so narrow. There's no drainage. There's no curbs. There's not even, when they came and put the sewer in, they didn't even fix it. There are so many. I drive a bus for Tupelo Public School District, and every day I have to come down that road twice a day. Twice in the morning, twice in the afternoon. And that road will beat you to death. North Feimster. It has a ton where they went across the road to put the sewer in. It got patched. Never been fixed. It will beat you to death in that bus. The corner of North Feimster and Morganwood, I've already complained to my supervisors. When it comes a big rain, it's dangerous to drive through because I can't see the road at all. Morganwood, the end of Morganwood completely floods over. So, I mean, there's a water issue already. You talk about adding 5 new houses that are, I'm all for development. I don't have a problem with nice homes. Okay? We don't know what size the homes are going to be. We know what size the lots are going to be. But are they going to be little, 1,000-foot square homes that nobody, I mean, none of us have a 1,000-foot square home. Mine's almost 2,000. I guarantee you everybody else's is a lot bigger than 1,000 foot, but you're not going to get a very big home on that little bitty tiny lot unless you build a 3-story or a big 2-story. I mean, it just doesn't seem logical to try to cram 5 houses in on that little bitty lot. Like I said, that my brother-in-law's brother used to own for many, many, many moons. I have been all over that piece of property. We used to go back there and play volleyball on Sundays in the backyard, and it all slow. He's going to have to bring in so much dirt just to get houses built level out there. I don't know if y'all have seen this piece of property or not, but if you hadn't, you need to go look at the piece of property because the whole thing slants down toward that field. There's already a huge ditch in the front, and it still floods with that huge ditch. Now, I'm probably not going to be faced with any of that flood water because, like I said, I'm across the street. But none of us want a little 1,000-square-foot house built, and drop our property values. And I'm just being honest. I think that's what we should do, be honest. 2 houses maybe? Yeah, I could see that. That'd be awesome. But if you're gonna come in there and put in, some nice houses, some curbage and all that stuff, We don't even have lines on the road. There is no yellow or white lines on the road. So, I mean, there's a lot of other things that need to be done before we put 5 houses in a subdivision.
All right, thank you, Mr. Willis. We appreciate your comments. Are there any other public comments tonight? Seeing none, Mr. Werner, you have the floor if you want to come to the podium and address any of the questions that were asked tonight. You're welcome to do that. Just make sure you address it to the committee, please.
So I guess the question I commonly heard was like how big the homes are. And so, I'm probably looking around 15 to 1,700 square feet is what we're looking at around the home size. And so, I would never go into a place, and I understand a lot about real estate because I deal with it a lot. I have several rentals. I got Airbnbs in town. I've flipped a couple of houses before, and property value is extremely high. And so even from what I've seen, per square foot, new construction raises the value of everything it's around, especially the first one that sells. Because that's how they base appraisals on, is similar square footage and about the area, and they check different places and average that out. And so new construction, even at 1,700 square feet, will raise the property value of the whole area tremendously. But I will not build little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house or anything like that. I do have, like, I'm flexible as far as like fitting them in there, like how they would look. Like I have a couple examples in here. Some of them that are more narrow lots, they will be more of like a shotgun style house to fit the square footage. I'm not planning on building any 2-story homes. I feel like with that square footage, I could still fit them in well to where the design and the flow looks nice. And so I think that answers that. What was another question?
Price range.
Price range. You know, I have a thing personally with things being affordable. You know, I work at a grocery store, and it is really hard to make things affordable. I'm not looking, this is something on the side that I'm trying to do. I'm not going in there trying to have 1,500 square foot houses at like $300,000 or something crazy like that. I figure we're going to hit around the 220, 240 mark, give or take a little bit. You know, I may run into surprises, you know, with what we do, and we may try and compensate a little bit on the price. I already have a realtor that I am committing these 5 homes to, and she's giving me a cheaper rate, so I don't have to charge as much when I sell the house. So she's knocking off a little percentage to make that price manageable. Because I do feel like we can have nice things and still make them affordable, even during this time, if we're smart about how we build and what we do. And another reason for building 5 homes is when you're developing an area, it helps spread the cost across 5 different sales instead of 1 or 2. You know, if you try and bring in a road and try and develop, and then you got 2 things you got to split a big expense with, because I'm paying for the street, I'm paying for the curb, I'm paying for all that, and then up to the city standards, and I turn that over for you guys to take care of. And so that'll be on my dime of what that does. But it helps me spread the cost across so that the homes that are built there will be affordable compared to others. What is another question?
Drainage.
Drainage and flood.
Like one of the gentlemen was saying earlier, I mean, I have not lived there, so I don't sit around and I don't watch where the water flows, but I do know the entire location is, like one of the gentlemen said, like a big hill. And so, you know, there'll be some drainage stuff we have to address, you know. I know that someone from the city called me and we discussed the flood zone, that probably just a square tip of that thing at the very bottom is in a flood zone. And then all behind that is all farmland. And that's all flood zone, you know. And regardless of what I do there, if it is approved, you know, you can't stop the flow of water, you know, especially off of down a hill and then into a farmland. You know, the farmland's going to get that regardless of what happens. And it's so low to the ground. You know, whoever has been out there, if you stand there and you look out towards Auburn Road and the highway, the bottom of the highway is closer to where the farmland runs. And so as far as elevation goes, no, I'm not claiming I know everything about elevation because I don't. But to me, logically, there'd be some planning with some drainage and stuff like that, which I would accommodate, whether with underneath the little road we put in to help filter the water the right way, so it doesn't damage anybody's property or cause any other issues or anything like that. Another question?
Sewer.
The sewer? I believe there's already a sewer on that line, and so that's actually going to be the simplest thing I have to deal with, pretty much. So that'll, you know, whatever I need to do with that, you know, we'll do. So, another question?
What about landscape buffers? Were there any trees that were going to be left around the perimeter to shield that lot from outside or from?
Yeah,
from the highway, that kind of
I would
thing?
love to leave. Probably going to leave most of the trees, I'd imagine. There's some really pretty black walnut trees in the back of that property, and they are beautiful. I'm a big gardening, landscaping person myself. I like to do that because plants don't talk, so I enjoy that. But yeah, I would like to. I really enjoy that, you know, the trees, and I have trees on my personal property, and you know, for me, personally, I like doing things with excellence, because when I lay my head down at night, I like to know that I did a good job and I did the right thing, and those are things that I really enjoy. And so I'm glad that people have shown up to voice their concerns, because it's, you know, I'd rather someone meet me and get to listen to me and see me, you know, about their concerns, and so that we can have a conversation. Another question?
Patrick, did you consider maybe going in at a lesser price point out of your pocket and instead of 5 lots going down to a lower price point? Did you consider that?
What do you mean?
Well, instead of putting a major, like the curb and guttering, could you have gone in and still been a profitable situation for you with only maybe 3 houses and just cutting a road in and doing it that
Well,
way?
the road's very expensive. If I did not have to do the road, I'd have to look at the numbers. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, you know, because like at the end of the day, it helps me spread it across 5 homes, the price of all this stuff. And so if there are things that I didn't have to do that wouldn't cost me much, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. Because like I said, this is not something I have to do to, like, I don't have to get the biggest and the best dollar at the end of the day. You know, this is something that me and my partner, we do on the side and enjoy doing some construction, some of that stuff. So I really enjoy it.
So Jenny, I mean, I've been out there a couple of times, but I've been out there when it's obviously dry, not wet. And so he has to comply with the city code on drainage.
Right.
But does that also include the possibility of what these fine people here have talked about, the existing flood that's already there? Would this tax the capacity of just putting a normal drainage in from the city?
So our requirement is that in 10 years, the flow off of this property will match the flow 25 years prior to the development. So whatever drainage treatments are in there really might assist in improving some of that catch and flow. We do, just from living in the city, require that everyone is responsible for receiving a certain amount of storm water from their neighbors. However, it should not exceed that 25-year prior to the development flow of water. So the expectation that the take onto adjacent properties would increase. We catch that through our engineering and stormwater drainage review as part of the construction of the infrastructure. And we require flow monitors on all of that be reported to engineering.
Anything else from Mr. Werner? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll now close the floor for public comment and open planning committee discussion.
I know that we compare the, I don't know about the lot size to the other, to what's, well, yeah, the lot size to what's required in that zoning district and LDR, and the lot width to what is required. But have we compared it to the surrounding area to see how it fits? Like, it may be, and we've run into this before, we have an LDR that is very LDR. Maybe even over the 2 acre. And it sounds like there's quite a few, if you look at some aerial map that, okay, so maybe we're trending to the top of LDR and possibly over. This is the minimum. In fact, it's not even the minimum in some cases. We're having to grant 40, 50, 60% variance on some of the frontage. So, to me, it seems like it may fit the zone, but does it fit the neighborhood? Does it fit the area?
Are you wanting me to answer that, Scott? I'm happy to.
Well,
Or
I'm
you
looking
want us to
at
say-
you. I'm looking, but I'm not necessarily looking. I mean, I'm just. This is more to the committee as a whole. And well, if you have a comment, certainly you're the professional here. But this is what this is how I'm thinking, is that the 5 lots is what's beneficial to the developer to make money on it. Is the 5 lots in the best interest of the area? It talks about in your analysis that retains harmony with the surrounding existing residential development. What's there already? You know, it's, if I look at the, if I zoom out of the, where it shows the property lines, these are by far the smallest property lines. I mean, the smallest, that would be, if you take that lot and divide it up into 5, these would be the smallest. So, I guess I'm kind of looking at it as that, is this as in harmony with the area as we want it to be? And I'm just looking for comments from either from y'all or from the committee too.
I'll just, as a point of information on that, so this area was annexed in 2012. And it was zoned low-density residential, truly in a rare moment for our zoning that said, you know, for our future growth, this is what we're looking at in this area. You know, the goal was growth when that was annexed. That, you know, really is the entire point of annexation. So just putting that in there, when they did, there's adjacent mixed-use employment, there's adjacent agricultural, it's an interesting area for the mix of zoning, but there definitely was, in that growth plan, an eye toward growth in this area. For whatever that's worth.
To me, though, it's, you're getting down to the very, what's the least requirements to get that, like the smallest lots possible. And it's kind of going on with Mark, is that, well, if you just took the lot and just divided it in half, facing Feimster, and put 2 nice size homes with deep lights, and, you know, you don't have to build a road and deal with all the infrastructure on the road. If, from a financial spot, then that would definitely be more in harmony. I don't know that you could get 3 houses without doing some type of road. You have to do some kind of little circle or something. I'm the only one talking here.
No, we're listening. You
Yeah.
always have such wisdom.
We've dealt with this recently, as y'all know, that you're trying to, you want some development, and I agree, you wanna develop this, you know, you've got lots of open space. But then what's, you know, what's the best? It just seems to be a little compact for what's around, even if it does, well, in some cases, meet the size. And I'm not saying it's, I wanna hear some other, am I the only one that's thinking this, that it doesn't, it's a little on the small side?
So in looking at the sheet that was provided here, that one, that sheet, if you looked at some of the adjacent lots, if the property was only divided into thirds, it would be in harmony with what you can see from this plat. It, much more so than 5. 5 is the smallest that you see out there, with the exception of maybe 1511 Femster Lake Road, which has a really narrow frontage. So there is one property out there that you can see that actually does have that small frontage on Femster Lake Road, which is a much bigger, heavier trafficked area than any of the others. So it's,
And it looks like they share the property, it's like more than they own the next properties too, so.
what the 1511
Yeah,
does.
so it's kinda one of those that they actually own more than one. That's just an observation I made looking at the, you know, I'm trying to see if, but, you know, if that was me there. It just 5 seems, I'm with you, 3, I could see 3.
5 seems like the development like they're doing off of West Jackson, as far as the frontage size. Now, those are gorgeous homes. Those are gorgeous homes. They're big homes on small lots. And, they're bringing good money. They are for everybody, which means property values are growing. It just depends on what, we're looking for as far as planning and development of this area.
Just to put in your mind, those lots that you're referring to are like 0.16 acres.
Yeah, much smaller.
They're half the size.
And the houses are
There you go.
big.
But the lots around them were also smaller too.
Yeah.
You know, here we're dealing with the top of, or beyond what LDR is, you know, to the top and beyond, and you're going all the way to what the minimum requirements are.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott, I think, you know, that's kind of what I was getting at. If you could get down to 3
Oh.
and the lot size, say, in close to Harmony, his square footage of house make it even go up just
Yeah,
slightly
To offset that, and
to
then
offset
yeah,
that.
so you don't
And then
have
his
to have
price
the long
point
road,
could
you
still
know.
say relatively low, but it stays in harmony of that area.
And if he did only 3, he doesn't have to do the whole street. It's
That's right.
just really just a public drive.
Jenny, do you know what the average square footage is for homes in that area?
It varies widely.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some that are 3,000 and you've got a few that are 1,100 and 1,200, and they're spread out. I mean, there's a concentration right to the west of this parcel, but if you did, you know, 1,000-foot radius on it, you got a pretty good spread.
So our code says that the footage facing the front has to be 50 foot?
90 in low
90
density
in
residential,
these.
right.
And so we have,
You got a 95, 72, 80, 52, and 36.
you do the math.
It's done for you on page 3.
Look at Jenny, she's all on top of that. What's on page 3?
The math on the variance, is that what you're looking at? The
I was looking to see what the total of that is.
Oh, to divide.
Oh, but that's along the frontage. He's got about 260 linear feet on the North Feimster Lake frontage, if that's what you were looking at now.
So these lots here are 95
Well, that kind of is what I think with Mark and I was thinking, you could divide the Feimster Lake frontage by 3 and have 3 lots. If it's 260, close, and you would, that would be, under the thing. But yeah, you really only have 2 of the lots. Well, actually 1 lot, and then you're making an adjustment on one, you're compatible on the other, and then asking for the flexible use on the other 2. So really, 1 of the lot is straight okay
With the frontage.
with the frontage. The other one, y'all are saying it's close enough. The other 3 are, well, 1 of the 3 is close, but still off, and the other 2 are way off.
And just as kind of a reference, if you still had a drive that was asphalted down, and you only did 4 lots, you would be somewhere around 82 feet per frontage on the new drive. And if it's 4, then he doesn't have to, the drive would still be just a drive and not a street.
No, if it's longer than 150 feet from the primary road, then it has to be a
It has to be a street.
That's right.
Okay. Well, you could still do a street, get 4, and the variance would be actually within the percentage, which we really wouldn't even require a variance. With 4 lots, wouldn't even require a variance. Am I correct? Potentially.
That's correct. If y'all did that, I would ask that you, we would have to revisit that as maybe an amendment to an approved subdivision. But the concept of the subdivision, we can kind of get him through this process if y'all just required going down to 4.
I mean, if you look at the lines of 1679 North Feimster Lake and then 1697, and if you were to kind of line those up, you could pretty easily get it down to 4 lots that would line up with those property lines to get, the 2 on the end are gonna be a little bit off, but I'm gonna say you get pretty close with the overall square footage of the lot.
Looking at 1679, 1697, 418, 414, is that what you're talking about, Tanner? Yeah, exactly. And you'd be somewhere around 80, 85 on the frontage on the new roads. And then all of the properties acreage-wise would meet our requirement because they would exceed the .33. They'd be bigger than that. They'd probably be, how much acreage is this total?
1.3 maybe? I saw it somewhere.
1.33.
No.
So it'd be like 0.6 acres. No. Yeah, 0.4 acres, something like that.
Are we getting into redesigning this when we shouldn't be?
I think if you're not working with the developer on this, we might have, if y'all want to, you can make a variety of approvals or recommendations here. You can also talk to him, ask him questions.
The other thing I'm gonna address is the water situation, because we went through this with Charleston Gardens and the other development where the water ran downhill into
No,
its,
that was Butler Park.
but
And
yeah.
Orleans, I
sorry.
think it's Orleans.
Orleans, yes, I'm sorry.
Where they built up here
And it-
Right, and
Orleans
so
is-
we monitor now that no pad can be more than 12 inches above street level.
That's good. Cause everybody just brought the dirt in and nobody excavated, and you end up with one subdivision here and the other one here.
So we've got the water under control, is that what I'm hearing?
Right, our regulations have very much got that under control.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, the chair will entertain any action at this point.
Well, I think, I'm sorry, 5 is too many. I don't think it fits with the character of the neighborhood. Obviously 3 works no matter what. 4 I think could. I don't know if it would work for the applicant, but to me, 5 is too many.
Would it help if we tabled it and let you go back and work with him on this?
You are able to do that. That is certainly an option available
Instead of
to you.
denying it, which means So you'd have to wait a year.
Right.
Okay.
So do we have the option to, if we ask him and he says, okay, I'll do 4 instead, can we modify his application?
You gonna find out?
Approve it for 4? And, or
Mr.
do we
Do we
need
not
more
need the plan? Do we
information?
not need a?
And what we would
site
do
plan
that is
then?
that would
Okay.
be a minor site plan amendment, and that would, you guys would get view of that before that went to council.
Mr. Werner, do you mind coming back up for just a minute?
Hey, and I feel the applicant answered every question, every concern that everybody had here. He answered the water, the size, the home size, the value, and what he planned on doing. Other than we just don't want to see it there. But I think he answered all the concerns that I had here. It's my opinion.
Do you have any reactions to any of the discussion here as far as maybe going down to a smaller development or fewer lots?
Well,
Or would you prefer to just think about it and ask us to table it?
well, I'd like to keep the ball rolling because right now all this is my expense. You know, you guys all already know how interest rates are. And I deal with a lot of that stuff, like I was telling you before, and things have to make sense to make money, you know. But I'm flexible with some things, you know. But I'd like to be flexible with me to save me money also, so that things make sense. If I would ask that, you know, because I want to work together.
Do you
know.
actually own that lot at this time?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And so, well, you know, it's funny about that lot. The guy I bought it from was going to turn it into a church camp before I took it over, and that would bring all kind of craziness to the neighborhood. I do a lot of ministry stuff myself, and we deal with running vans and picking people up and ministering to people and homeless people, and I would not want something like that in my backyard because those people need help, and it's not always good to do that. So I think building homes and raising the value of an area is always a positive thing, especially when I'm willing to be flexible with, you know, people having discussion and changing plans and stuff like that. But I need to have it make sense for me. You know, if people are willing to work with me, I will work with people. And so,
I think what I hear tonight is, one, are you willing to cut it down to 4 lots and keep the application open? Or if not, then have the committee possibly deny the application altogether?
Right.
I think that's what they need an answer on.
right. I mean, as far as like the road and all the expenses, and is that going to come back a little bit, depending on how I know I have to go through the final plans and do all that, but
The only way that our code allows us to change what is required for the roadway is if you did what we call a conservation subdivision, which requires that 50% of every lot share a boundary with designated open space. So that would then cut back on your acreage
yeah,
per lot. It's too small really for that to make sense.
sure. Okay, we can do 4 lots. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
So it might make sense to table the matter with the understanding that we're gonna revisit the site plan with 4 lots.
Well, I'll make a motion that we table this, as we're gonna, the applicant and the department are gonna further review to lower the lots from 5 to 4.
All right, there's a motion on the table to table this application from Scott Davis. Do I have a second?
I have a second.
I have a second from Lindsay Leak. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. All opposed, by like sign. Unanimous. All right, appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Werner. You have a
Okay.
seat.
Thank you. We appreciate
We appreciate your flexibility and
flexibility
yeah.
and all your efforts.
I do. Mhm. Yeah. I do want to take a moment to thank y'all for coming out tonight as well and voicing your concerns and opinions. We appreciate that very much.
Does Jenny need to advise what
Uh,
direction he needs to
Yeah,
take?
Ms. Savia will advise you on next steps.
Sure, yeah, I'll get with you and we'll work on updating this and we'll get it in front of them at their next meeting. And then if any of you have objection to the decision tonight, you have 3 days and you can send an appeal to me if you'd like. And that's all.
All right. Is there anything slated on the agenda for the July meeting at this point?
This,
Not at this point.
This-
Is there? Is it?
this one.
This.
Oh, yeah, right. There is.
This.
Obviously this, yeah. Anything else?
So we have a work session on,
Should be the last.
June 28th, I guess.
June
Yes, 24th.
June 24th.
For a July 1st meeting, so that we'll have a hearing on July 1st then for you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
All right.
Second it.
All in favor?
Yay.
Unanimous. All
Is
right.
that what
Thank you. We stand adjourned.